Oh, hello, is I, your boy Gomi, and we are back with some more UFC Fight Nights. This time, we're going to be looking at the second ever card in Paris, UFC Gane versus Spivak, and I will be perfectly honest with you guys, this card kind of sucks. It's a shame. This card is too many newcomers, too many fresh faces, too many unknowns, and just it's just not screaming to me like, oh, this is gonna be a good one. Like the last card, UFC Singapore, actually was pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie. It seemed solid on paper, ended up being pretty solid with a very memorable main event. Shout out to the retirement of the Korean Zombie. Also, shout out to me preaching for the last week. For some reason, I envisioned Max Holloway round 3 KO. You bet I put money on it. You bet that was a nice payday. But regardless, let's look into this card. Let's look at some of the fights on here. And like I said, it's not anything really special, but we'll still look at it. So first off, we're going to have Farid Basharat versus Clinton Rodriguez. I'm going to be brief with this one because it's not a super good card, to be honest with you. Farid Basharat, I think, is going to be winning by decision with this. The Basharats, very talented and skilled strikers, but they're not very talented or skilled finishers, honestly. So it's usually good to go long. If it is going to be a finish, it's definitely going to be late. An over 1.5 or even over 2.5 is usually a good pick with this, or like a fight to start round 3. I think Clinton Rodriguez doesn't have the best in terms of overall skills, to be honest with you. I think Farid Basharat's striking is more prettier, and his grappling is pretty solid as well too. So I think he's going to take him down. Angelusa versus Race McNee. I'm gonna be going Lusa. Again, I'm not a huge fan of either of these guys, but Lusa I feel is a little bit more solid. He has some losses on his record, but to be fair, they're okay losses, honestly. He's not really lost to anybody bad, and he hasn't really had a loss in the UFC. I like his striking and grappling for Lusa a little bit, but nothing crazy. So yeah, Lusa field fights go along. Not much about that. Jocelyn Edwards versus Nora yeah. I've looked up almost nothing on her. It's her debut. I'm going to be going Jocelyn Edwards because from what I've seen from Nora, she seems to be in the B leagues. It's not very good. I've seen plenty of Jocelyn Edwards. She has very pretty kickboxing. That's about it. Zahara Farin versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now, this is a showcase for debuting Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I feel she's going to piece her up in pretty much all aspects of MMA, but primarily in striking. I don't think this is going to be a close fight, to be honest with you. Zahara is kind of garbage, to be honest with you. Nothing more about that. After recording this video, and in the process before editing it, Taylor Laplice versus Muin Gafour is off. I will be honest with you, I got no data on either of these two, so I'm gonna skip this fight. I apologize. Yanis Gamori versus Karan Lukhran. I believe I'm gonna be taking Lukhran just because Gamori has really low striking output from what I've seen. I don't really, do they have those numbers? No, they don't. They at least have the numbers for Lukhran. I believe it's Lukhran. But whatever the case is, Lukhran, to be honest with you, seems like he's a pretty efficient striker, pretty efficient finisher as well too. His last 4 fights, yes, it was 4 fights. So I looked up, all of them ended in round 2. So I don't know why I'm screening round 2 for this guy. Maybe a round 2 finish for him might be some pretty money, honestly. But yeah, give me Lukhran. William Gomis versus Lucas Almeida is also off. I will not be covering the replacement fights for these. Next fight, Volkan Uzdemir versus Bogdan Guskov. So, short notice replacement, Bogdan Guskov. Yes, he's got a very pretty record. And you look at some of the people he's been fighting, look at some of the wins he's had, like, wow, this guy seems really good. He's decimating these people, but they're garbage. Like, they seem like they're absolute trash. This guy seems like a certified can crusher, can annihilator. Meanwhile, Volkan Oezdemir is a highlight reel for people, to be honest with you. He's fought so many good fighters, and he's lost to them all. The best win he has is over Paul Craig, and that Paul Craig had 0 striking, and that was a pitiful performance. But otherwise, he lost to Krylov, Ankalaev, Yiri. That's a highlight reel knockout. Rakic, he's Latifi, like he's got Reyes, Anthony Smith, Daniel Cormier. He's lost to the who's who to light heavyweight. He's pretty garbage, I'm sorry to say. I mean, he's fought good guys. The only person on that list that's kind of that he lost to is Nikita Krylov, but Nikita Krylov is still a top-ranked fighter. But I don't know, it's a can crusher versus a can, so but a elite can, if that makes sense. So I'll go Oezdemir because I feel like Bogdan kind of sucks, but don't bet this. Don't bet this. Benoit Saint Denis versus Thiago Moises. I am shocked that Thiago Moises is an underdog in this. He's the more accomplished veteran, and Benoit Saint Denis, like, yeah, he's looked good. Like, he's coming off a good win over one of the Bonfims, the younger of the Bonfim, but Gabriel Bonfim fought him like a dumbass. Fought him like an absolute idiot. Fought him with the negative fight IQ, and he still was having really good moments in that. Benoit Saint Denis also took one of the most brutal beatdowns ever by, who is it? Dos Santos. Yeah. He just beat the living crap out of Benoit Saint Denis. Took some years off his fight clock, even though it was his first loss and he's still young, that you're not going to fully recover from that. While Thiago Moises is a very efficient veteran, I really like his grappling. I think he's got very effective grappling, and I feel like people aren't looking at that. Benoit does have 85% takedown at defense, but he's primarily only fought strikers, really. I'm going to be leaning towards Thiago Moises, to be honest with you, to beat Benoit Saint Denis. I'm surprised he's an underdog, but that's what I'm going to lean towards in this fight. Manon Fior versus Rose Namajunas. Thug Rose. Thug Rose, a fighter I was very high on, a huge fan of for a long time. I rooted for both the Zhang Weili fights. But man, I was in attendance at UFC 274 live. I can't be a fan of you after seeing that. That was awful. That's one of the worst fights of all time. And her corner, no. Let's retract the statement. Whitman was not doing anything like that. Trevor Whitman was smart, intelligent. He's a very good coach. But her husband, Pat Barry, sucks as a coach. He was garbage UFC fighter, and I don't know why she's listening to him predominantly and move like just let Whitman take over. Just let Whitman do it. Because honestly, Rose Namajunas is such a good fighter, but she always just struggles with mental issues and confidence issues. Manon Fior is coming up. She's on the come up. She's a very solid fighter. A very boring fighter, though, to be honest with you. I will 100% say that. I got a lot of flack for my coverage of UFC 280, in which I said Manon Fior versus Caitlin Chukagian should not have been on... Was it Chukagian? I can't remember. Should not have been on the main card over Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady, which ended up being one of the best fights of the night. Yeah. I think I'm going to be right again about Manon Fior, but this time I think she's going to lose to Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas is actually an underdog, but that's because people are looking at her last fight, but they forget she beat Zhang. She looked really good in her first fight against Zhang, and then was able to tough out her second fight against Zhang, despite fighting against herself. Rose Namajunas is a super talented, hard-hitting fighter, and her worst enemy is herself, and lately it's been her freaking corner. Her husband, I don't know what he's on about. Like, when I watched the fight live, I couldn't hear anything. I re-watched highlights of it to listen into the corner advice he was giving her. Oh my god. Pat Barry should not be your coach. If he's in her corner, I'm gonna be worried, especially since she's coming up in weight too, going up to flyweight. But I don't know. I still think Rose Namajunas is gonna be able to take this. I think she's gonna fight against her nerves, fight against her whatever self-confidence or lack thereof, and I think she's gonna be able to take out Manon Fior. I don't think Manon Fior is amazing. I think she's talented, she's pretty good, but I think this is a big step up for her where she'll lose, honestly. And that takes us to the main event of the evening. Ciryl Gane in a heavyweight showdown against Sergey Spivak. I I don't know about this fight. This one's actually a very intriguing, interesting fight to me. On the one hand, Ciryl Gane, a guy who I've notoriously faded, and the one time I put faith in him, he was absolutely annihilated. It's against Jon Jones. And Sergey Spivak, a guy who he's really been on the come up, honestly. He's really done a good job. Like, I was really hesitant on this guy after seeing he lost to Walt Harris, who, as much as I love Walt, not the best, and then lost to Tom Aspinall. But that's a great win, and that's a win that's aged very well for Tom, because Sergey Spivak since then has just beaten the crap out of a ton of people. Derek Lewis, Augustus Sakai, Greg Hardy. He beat Tai Tuivasa before he lost to Tom Aspinall. He's been improved massively, so it's a hard one. Let's get into the tail of the tape. Heavyweight showdown between Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane is going to be 33 years of age, 11 wins, 2 losses. He is still a UFC MMA newbie. 5 KOs, 3 submissions. He's going to be 6'4" in terms of height, orthodox stance, 81-inch reach advantage, a 0.61 takedown average, a 61.93 significant strike accuracy, minus 170 favorite. He has significant wins over Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkov, and Drazinho Rozenstruik. Yes, I know it's Rozenstruik. And then Sergey Spivak is going to be 28 years of age, 16 wins, 3 losses, 70 knockouts, 7 submissions. I love that record. I love that. He's going to be 6'3" in terms of height, orthodox stance, 78-inch reach disadvantage, a 5.05 takedown average, a 63.78% significant strike accuracy, plus 145 underdog. Significant wins over Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, and Tai Tuivasa. Now then, how do I feel about this fight? This is a hard one for me, to be perfectly honest with you. It is definitely a hard one. I looked at Sergey Spivak's grappling, and I like it. He was able to ragdoll Derek Lewis like nothing. He showed really good grappling offense. He was able to get the submission, but Derek Lewis has no grappling. Ciryl Gane has moments of brilliance and amazing talent, but grappling is a significant weakness for him. He was able to be out-grappled by Francis Ngannou with no knees. Awful. That's an awful look. Then he was able to be destroyed and annihilated by Jon Jones. Like, he out-grappled the crap out of him. He made him look like a child, like an absolute child. It wasn't even like a challenge, honestly. It was pathetic. And that's the one time I put faith in him. I put faith in this man to win. But yeah, Ciryl Gane is a very good kickboxer. He can be pretty boring sometimes, to be honest with you. Like, his fights against Rozenstruik and Volkov were and even his fight against Lewis, to be honest with you, but most of that was because Lewis had a horrible fight output, to be honest with you. But there are times, like his fight against Tai Tuivasa, we saw a different side about Ciryl Gane. He really wanted to get that finish, and he really sought out that finish, honestly. Which is why, normally, I would pick Sergey Spivak. When this fight was announced, I was heavily leaning towards Sergey Spivak. But now, I'm leaning towards Gane now. Just knowing it's in France, rewatching the Tai Tuivasa fight for my research. Just the France crowd is so good, which makes me feel so bad that this is the fight card they get. When I looked at the last French card, oh my god, the crowd was so good. One of the best crowds, honestly. That was an amazing crowd. Absolutely blew the water out of the Miami and Arizona crowds from my experience. I've never been to France, so I can't say, but I've just listening to it was amazing. I think that's going to heavily influence Ciryl Gane. I think he's not going to, because he also didn't take the Jon Jones fight seriously. He said he trained no grappling. He came into that fight expecting to lose. He came into that fight, I guarantee you, thinking, I'm going up against a legend that nobody's beat. I'm probably not going to beat this guy. There's probably that slight bit of doubt in the back of his mind, because even if he were to lose, he should not have looked that awful, honestly. I don't think Sergey Spivak is going to be able to out-grapple him to the extent that Jones does, but I do think he definitely has a good grappling advantage. But another thing about Sergey Spivak is he has a massive striking disadvantage. I think Tom Aspinall is going to hit harder, but I think Ciryl Gane is going to be able to do the same stuff that Tom Aspinall was able to do. Stuff some of his takedowns and land some good shots. Keep at a distance. I like his teep kicks to the body, and I feel that's going to hurt Sergey Spivak a lot, much like Ciryl Gane was able to hurt Tai Tuivasa. Overall, it's a hard fight. I don't like betting on this fight. I don't think I will. Part of me thinks Sergey Spivak is able to get it done, but I think that crowd, the X factor of being in Paris, I think is going to give Ciryl Gane that little oomph he needs to beat Sergey Spivak. It'll probably be on a decision, honestly. It'll probably go long. Definitely, I'd say bet the over 2.5, over 3.5, honestly. But I don't know. One thing to mention is, another thing is, as much as I'm not a huge fan of Ciryl Gane, to be honest with you. Like, he just feels like a more boring version of Tom Aspinall, because Tom Aspinall has a much more better finishing instinct. I do want that Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane fight. I really want that fight, to be honest with you. So part of me wants Ciryl Gane to win for that. That's a fight that feels like it's destiny, honestly. The styles of Ciryl Gane and Tom Aspinall would make for such a good fight. So give me Ciryl Gane. Give me Ciryl Gane to win. I'm usually right on the fight nights, I've noticed. I'm bad at the pay-per-views with my official picks, but I notice I'm really good with fight nights. Have I hit? How many of the fight nights have I hit this week this year, honestly? I gotta look that up, but I think I've done very well on pretty much all the UFC fight nights. This is a statistic that I will look up. Holloway, yep. Luque dos Anjos. I was wrong on Luque dos Anjos. Okay, so not as much. Aspinall Tibero is wrong. Okay, never mind. I'm not doing good on fight nights either. I'm not doing good at all this year. But yes. Well, at least main events. I'm doing good otherwise. But yes. Regardless, I'm going to be leaning towards Ciryl Gane to win this fight. Narrow out on a very close decision. So let me know what you think of this fight card, and let me know what you think of this fight. Once again, this has been your boy Gomi. Bye-bye.